Hey, I'm Sarah Hendley, and today I'm going to be talking about Sandro Botticelli for Project 2 on Renaissance Masters. Sandro Botticelli was born Alessandro di Moreno Filippi, and he was born in 1445 in Florence, Italy. He died on May 17th, 1510, also in Italy. He was a great painter of the early Renaissance. And the name Botticelli was derived from his elder brother Giovanni, who was a pawnbroker, who was called Botticello, which meant little bearer. It was common for religious scenes like this one that was painted at the time to contain portraits of nobility and points to the important connection art had with money and power in Renaissance Florence. And Botticelli was probably the first artist to depict the adoration of the Magi with the Holy Family at the center, set back deep into the painting with other characters arranged symmetrically on either side. Previously, the scene had always been depicted as linear narrative flowing across the space of a canvas. In 1475, Adoration of the Magi depicts several members of the Medici family as the three Magi. Medici family even rode through the streets of Florence, and my sister Laura Pressler will not be quiet. This next slide is a painting from 1475 of the Adoration of the Magi, and it depicts several members of the Medici family. It shows the self-portrait of Botticelli, the only one known to be in existence. The artist stands on the right edge of the painting and looks directly out to the viewer. And this is a religious scene painted at the time to contain portraits of nobility and points to the important connection art had with money and power in Florence, in the Renaissance Florence. He was probably the first artist to depict the adoration of the Magi with the Holy Family at the center. And as you can see, it looks like the Virgin Mary with the baby and the three wise men, as you would see today. This painting is in 1482 of La Primavera. It's one of the most famous paintings in Western art. And it is central characters. In it is Venus, the goddess of love. Earliest examples in Western post-classical painting of a non-religious scene. Rather than representing a scene from a specific story, it is believed that Botticelli either represents the figures in this arrangement purely for aesthetic reasons, or if there was a narrative, it is unknown. Either way, the mysteriousness of the painting is part of its great appeal. Three graces dance beside her. The goddess of flowers is chased by the figure of the west wind before transforming into Flora, echoing a myth described in Ovid. It's just kind of like angels um, floating around here on this painting. This painting is from 1483. It is called Venus and Mars. Venus is the goddess of love. It's reclining on the grass, while her lover Mars, the god of war, lies asleep and disarmed before her, presumably tired out of love making. Basic message of the work could be love conquers war, essentially a joke at the expense of men. Though Venus is fully clothed, having conquered Mars, The portrayal of her powerful sexuality is equally as enticing. Several young fauns are playing in the scene, attempting to wake Mars by blowing in his ear with a conch shell. The painting also features some wasps, which may be in reference to a family who lived near to Botticelli, or may refer to the stings of love. Mars is undone by his sexual encounter, disarmed and vulnerable, while Venus looks calmly on, fully clothed and awake. Mars is wearing only a small cloth of fabric, leaving his almost bare body on view to both his lover Venus and the things around him. This painting is from 1485 and it is called The Map of Hell. Dante's 9 circles of hell are the types of people sent to each and the punishments inflicted there. This depicts the entire sequence of events of the Divine Comedy that Dante, a famous Italian poet, wrote. The map of hell attempts to capture the entire configuration of the underworld. And here Botticelli painted silver point and ink with colored tempera on goatskin parchment. This is from 1486 called The Birth of Venus, where you have a half-naked woman. She is standing on a shell. It's more of a mythological painting, although it was done in Renaissance. One of the best loved works of art in the world. The Romans knew her as Venus, while for the Greeks it was Aphrodite. Um, it measures 6 feet by 9 feet. It was a non-religious scene from classical mythology. It has both a physical and a spiritual beauty. Prominent nude male, nearly life-size, was virtually unprecedented in Western paintings. Homage to classical art showing the Venus style of a nude female figure attempting to preserve her modesty with her hands and her erotically charged long hair. Her right shoulder hair spiral is a perfect spiral. It shows different things in the background. And the story goes that God, Uranus, had a son named Cronus, who overthrew his father, castrating him and throwing his genitals into the sea. This caused the water to be fertilized, and that's how Venus was born. This painting is from 1494, and it is Calumny of Apelles, and it was Botticelli's attempt to recreate a lost painting by the ancient Greek artist Apelles. It does contain both Christian and pagan figures. It has a character, the birth of Venus, to the left, symbolizing the allegorical figure of truth. Botticelli's painting emphasizes how wrong slander is through both the allegory he depicts as well as the setting. The elaborate architecture, as you can see, the gold and the figures that are painted in on the columns, designed perfect Renaissance proportion. It's punctuated by sculptures of both Christian and pagan, virtuous figures, all of whom appear to be looking down and judging on the scene below. As the art historian Corini argues, Botticelli transforms the literary notion into a bizarre elaboration, revitalizing and at the same time exhausting the classical allegory. The marble decorating in the hall with the arches, define the space in which the allegory unfolds in Botticelli's representation. No longer frame delicate mythological compositions or moral objects. Only the contrary. It clearly shows being pulled away and looked down upon, and just as it says, it's depicting slander and representing vices or virtues.